One of the things I'll do is, at the moment I'm recording this and I can see a big red light above the lens because I know it's recording. But what I'll do when I'm interviewing usually is I'll put a bit of black tape over that red light, so then whoever's being interviewed, they don't actually know if they're being filmed or not, if I'm actually recording them. And that's great because that's often when you get the best bit. Another great bit of kit that I use is the X-Rite Color Checker Passport. These are great for color balancing when you've got two cameras. Also to kind of give you a white balance on an 18% grey card. So if you're DP, you kind of know that you need these. These just are great to have in a camera bag. I mean, one thing that I will kind of say is that I think the best sort of filmmakers, and certainly, you know, sort of DPs and camera people, are ones that come from a photography background. I mean, there's a reason it's called a DP, Director of Photography, because first and foremost it's it's about photography. So if you don't know how to compose a picture with a normal still camera, then you're kind of never going to be great with a movie camera or film camera. So go out, take pictures. I mean, I still love photography. My background is underwater photography. I spent sort of 7 years taking underwater photos all around the world. I've taken thousands and tens of thousands of underwater photos. To me, the great documentaries are the ones that kind of shift story. They kind of lead you down one direction and then something happens and everything changes. And it goes in a completely different direction than you were expecting. But also the characters, you have to have some great characters in. I recently watched a documentary about this big con that happened with the McDonald's lottery game, Monopoly game, and there's one key character in that who was the FBI agent, and he was brilliant. He was in the first episode, and you knew instantly. I mean, he was the reason that I kept watching. I think it was like 3 or 4 episodes, but he was the reason I kept watching the whole series, because he was such a compelling character. And if you've got 2 or 3 of those, then I think you've got a great documentary. The problem with this documentary is it's completely unscripted. When you're working on a narrative film, you got a script, you know what you're working to, and it very rarely changes. I mean, bits and pieces may change, but when you're making a documentary, you're throwing the whole thing up in the air, and things can kind of go wrong. When I say go wrong, everything can take too long. Stories can go in completely the wrong direction. You'll spend probably a lot of time just trying to figure out the story. I think if you when I started with Rom Boys, I thought this will be a 6-month project, and then 6-month production. And then with an edit, I'll have the whole thing finished in a year. But I realised after that first year that the story wasn't really going anywhere. It wasn't good enough. So I just had to keep going with it. And also, the people, I sort of found more people. Every time I interview someone, they say, "Oh, you got to go and see so-and-so. You got to interview so-and-so. He's fantastic." And then it was like it sort of opened up this wormhole of every time you interview someone, they suggested someone else, and they were also great. And so, eventually you have to kind of draw a line on it. And I think I drew the line around about 30 people or so. But it wasn't like I said, right, there's 30, that's it. It was just naturally, it kind of came to its conclusion there. The thing that I did learn, what did I really learn that you should not do? Biggest mistake in that whole process? I don't know really, biggest mistake. I don't think there was any mistakes other than the time, other than underestimating how long it takes. And that's going to be the key with this next film, this film with an 8-week turnaround. We've got an 8-week deadline, so we've got to be really tight on how we shoot that. And it'll be a completely different approach than I took to Rom Boys, because we've really got to nail the questions and nail the script down. So yeah, I think that's the sort of key there.